at the forefront of politics.
Our enemy is Trump. He is the enemy. We gotta unite. If we're not a united party, we lose to Trump.
On the front lines of activism.
There's certain fights, if we don't engage, they win. This is a fundamental question of who we are.
And delivering your daily dose of comedy.
Donald Trump, when he had his physical, they had his blood pressure, and mine is higher than his. Oh. And the irony is mine is higher because of him.
From the blue wave.
We flipped. Enough seats to take control of the House. We control the House.
To 2020 and beyond. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to Dean Obeidallah Show, brothers and sisters. Friday, August 23rd. I'm Dean Obeidallah, as always, your needy MBFF, hoping to be your Muslim friend. I'll be your Muslim friend all week, and I'm there for you on Twitter at Dean Obeidallah, Facebook.com/Dean of Radio. By the way, tomorrow morning, I'll be back on Joy Reid's show in the morning on MS. I hope you'll check it out. And Joy's show is fabulous, and I love going on. I'll be on tomorrow morning. And probably, I'm sure some friends that you know who come on our show and from other shows will be on as well. I don't know the lineup now, but I'm looking forward to it. So, the wheels are really coming off Trump world. I mean, really, like, it also thinks something's changed in the last week and a half. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not going to say he's insane. I don't think he's clinically insane. Something is wrong. Something is, and I think it's the pressure of the economy, his only real achievement in his mind, become little by little struggling. We're not in a recession yet, but struggling. I mean, usually when things are going this bad for Trump, he files for bankruptcy, but he can't. In fact, he filed for bankruptcy 6 times. And I am not rooting for a recession. Last year when Bill Maher said we should have a recession, I wrote an article for CNN saying that's absolutely wrong. You should not wish for our fellow Americans to suffer just to beat Trump. We don't need a recession to beat the guy. 2018 midterm. Look how we won record numbers of raw votes for Democrats versus Republicans in the House. We won that. We don't need a recession. We're going to win on policy and people rejecting Trump's bigotry and racism and sexism. But it looks like we're getting closer to an economic slowdown. And this is 100% Trump. It's all of Trump's doing. And let me just sum up before I get into some stuff here. Republicans give us recessions. Democrats give us jobs. And you might think that's like a bumper sticker, but I'm going to lay that out for you and show you that's absolutely correct. Republicans give us recessions. Democrats give us jobs. And let's talk about today's news first, and then we'll get to that broader picture of how the economy over Democratic presidents versus Republicans. Who's created the most jobs? Who's given us recessions? Who's given us the economic slowdowns? And I can assure you, I already gave it away. Spoiler alert, Democrats give us jobs, Republicans give us recessions. But today, Donald Trump really freaked out in an odd way. This was something I never would have predicted. But then again, I've said, Trump will do things we'll never predict because we are not sociopaths. And we have a sense of right and wrong. He has a sense of just what's good for Trump. He lashed out today against Jerome Powell, known as Jay Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, a man he appointed. And he tweets today, as usual, the Fed did nothing. It's incredible they can speak without knowing or asking what I'm doing. It doesn't matter what he's doing. They're an independent body. And he goes on, blah, 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 a lot of stupidity. Then he asked this here. My only question is, who is our biggest enemy? Jay Powell or Chairman Xi, the Chinese leader? So you have Trump now. In his hierarchy of enemies, I'm not sure. Is it CNN? Then Jay Powell? Then the leader of China? Then NBC? I don't know where it goes. I mean, there's a lot of enemies this guy's got. Very Nixonian. A lot of enemies out there. And look, there are things going on that are not getting the coverage regarding our economy. And I'm going to cover some of that here. And it's not because we don't want to cover it. Trump is a train wreck. I mean, literally, like, things explode daily. So you don't cover the little things that are actually important for the economy, such as just yesterday it was reported that our deficit for this year, and I know we don't usually as Democrats talk about deficit. Usually Republicans use it as a reason not to let Democrats have policies that actually help people. But under Obama in 2016, the deficit was $585 billion. Republicans went crazy. $585 billion. Look at Obama. Spend, spend, spend. Look at this liberal, what he's doing. The new estimate for the budget deficit for this fiscal year under Trump will surpass $1 trillion, literally doubling Obama's deficit in $585 billion in 2016. But they don't care. They'll just spend, spend, spend. They accuse us of being tax and spend Democrats, like that old time expression. Republicans are spend and spend and spend Republicans. Just spend, 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 and say no to anything Democrats want. So going back to his attack, he attacks Jay Powell, and he's beginning to scapegoat the Fed, as you see. and he's setting up a place where he can tell his supporters when we are in a recession. It's not my fault. It's this guy, Jay Powell. And of course, not telling them Donald Trump could have picked anyone he wanted to be Federal Reserve Chair. And in November of 2017, he picked Jay Powell. In fact, here's a clip of Donald Trump in the Rose Garden bragging about what a great guy Jay Powell is. Here's clip number 1.
Accordingly, it is my pleasure and my honor to announce my nomination of Jerome Powell to be the next chairman of the Federal Reserve. Congratulations, Jay. Our economy requires sound monetary policy and prudent oversight of our banking system. That is why we need strong, sound, and steady leadership at the United States Federal Reserve. I have nominated Jay to be our next federal chairman, and so important because he will provide exactly that type of leadership. He's strong, he's committed, he's smart.
Today, he became the enemy of the people, though. But, a short time ago, Jay Powell was smart and strong and everything. And Trump does not want you to know he appointed him. So if it turns out Jay Powell is objectively bad, I'm not saying he is, but say it is, Trump, you picked the guy. Why didn't you pick somebody better? Because you don't know anything about business. Trump, we know why now. Everyone is seeing in the country what we warned them about. Everyone is seeing why Trump filed for bankruptcy 6 times. He's been able to acquire debt as a business guy. He bragged he was the king of the debt. As president of the United States, he is showing us that, again, he's surpassing Obama's last deficit by almost double. Republicans, have they talked at all about the deficit? Have you heard them go, oh my God, our deficit's so high? No, but Obama wanted to do a jobs program. They said, no, we can't do that. So then Trump went true dictator craziness here. He tweets after going against Jay Powell, our great American companies are hereby ordered to immediately start looking for an alternative to China, including bringing your companies home and making your products in the USA. So, folks, every company out there, you're ordered to immediately start looking for an alternative to China. I'm not sure what the alternative is. Maybe Japan, maybe the U.S., he's saying, including bringing your... So he's not even saying you got to bring it home. He's just like, look, just don't go to China anymore. I don't like China. They're my enemy. Here's Chris Wallace on Fox News, literally as the story broke, as this tweet, the anchor, Sandra Smith, is reading it on air to Chris Wallace, who just decimates Trump. And this is why Chris Wallace was nominated, the first person ever nominated on Fox News for an Emmy. It happened this year for news coverage. It's Chris Wallace. And here is why. Clip number 2, please.
Our great American companies, he just tweeted, are hereby ordered to immediately start looking for an alternative to China, including bringing your companies home and making your products in the USA. I will be responding to China's tariffs this afternoon. Chris, your thoughts?
Well, we're just all learning this at the same time, but the best I can tell, the American president can't order U.S. companies how they're going to do their sales or where they're going to have their supply chains. We have a free market capitalist system. I don't think a president can order a car company to move some of its factories from one place to another. He can impose tariffs or make it economically untenable, but I don't think he can sit there and order the CEO or the board. And my guess is that most people in this country wouldn't want to see a president be able to do this. I also think we have to drill down on the statement, who is a bigger enemy to this country? Mm-hmm. The head of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, who, we shouldn't forget was appointed by President Trump.
You got to like Chris Wallace. Obviously, a president cannot just simply declare by tweet, executive order by tweet, or edict by tweet. Every American company, you got to close up where you are and come back to America. It's so funny that on Trump's big talking point and the right's big talking point are Democrats or socialists, when socialists would be a government telling companies where they can and cannot do business and telling companies you have to leave China and come back to America. That is socialism. That is state-run socialism of corporations. Capitalism is what Democrats are about, but responsible capitalism, not crazy capitalism. And companies make profits. You can tax them to make sure they're paying their fair share. You can do creative, make sure that they can't hide their money, but that's not Trump. And then second, here's a really important point by Chris Wallace, folks. And I want you to really pay attention to what Chris says here about consumer confidence. And I'll tell you exactly why after. Let's hear the next clip, please.
All of this comes amidst obvious concern and legitimate concern about the strength of the economy and whether or not we're headed for a downturn. No signs yet of a recession, but certainly signs of a slowdown in growth. And one of the things that a lot of people in the White House have been saying is, and remember, it was just last week on Fox News Sunday that you had Larry Kudlow jawboning the economy and saying, don't be afraid of optimism, and things are going to be better than you say, than you think, and the economy is strong. When you have the president of the United States sort of flailing around this way and ordering companies to move back to the U.S. and saying that the head of the Federal Reserve is an enemy of the country, is that going to create more consumer confidence about the state of the economy or not?
It's creating more uncertainty in the market.
And exactly right. And here's why that is vitally important, the idea of consumer confidence. In our nation, and I will not get wonky because I'm not an economist, so I can't get wonky. I can only explain this as a layperson. So I hope this makes sense without being able to see it like with graphs. If we were on TV and had a show, you'd see little graphs next to me. You go, oh, this all makes sense in the world. Simply, the gross domestic product, the GDP, is simply the total value of everything a country produces in the country. That's everything you produce. And there are four components to the GDP. The biggest one is consumer spending, by far in America. That drives our economy. There's also business expenditures, government investments, and exports minus imports and what that net is there. But the biggest one by far is consumers spending. So here's the reality. When consumers hear the word recession, like normal people we tend to tighten our belt a little. We tend to spend a little bit less. So it becomes self-fulfilling. And so people go, so what is a recession? A recession technically, there's different definitions, but the most common one is if you have 2 quarters in a row, so 3 months and then 3 months of GDP growth that are consecutively smaller than the preceding month. So if the GDP contracts 2 quarters in a row, you are technically in a recession. Doesn't mean you're a mess. Doesn't mean you have 10% unemployment. It means you're in a recession. You can come out of it the next quarter. So the reality is here, we are on the verge of a recession because what happened is the first quarter of this year, from January to March, we had 3.1% growth of our economy. The next quarter, from April to June, we contracted down to 2.1%, which means if the reporting for the next quarter comes out below 2.1%, technically we're in a recession. Doesn't mean anything's changed. Technically, it just means real slow growth. There's other ways to define a recession, but that's the most common way that I've seen. And I'm not an economist, I'm just telling you. So we're having a slowdown. So Trump's words, though, don't help. Trump tweeted, and literally the stock market dropped 250 points in a matter of minutes. Today, if you didn't see it, here's some bad news for everyone. Stock market closed down over 600 points. That's a loss of 2% in one day. And just to put things in perspective, today the stock market, August 23rd, 2019, closed at 25,600 points. Where were we a year ago? Exactly a year ago? 25,800 points. So year to date, the market's actually down. People have no growth. Now, some people still make money because they're great traders, but in reality, we're down. Here's something else I want to raise, and it's funny, Rob from New York is on hold, and I tweeted this morning. I really think the House Democrats, when they come back, have to look into what Trump is doing with the stock market. It really reeks of stock manipulation here because he consistently will say things like, trade war with China, stock market tanks. Then he'll say, hey, we're going to have talks, and it'll go back up. And he's watched this happen over and over. And he keeps repeating it. If any president was ever going to figure out a way to personally or have their family personally benefit from those swings, it's him. And I hope the House Democrats investigate that and see, and we're wrong, but that's what you do investigations. If any guy's going to profit off the White House, it's this guy. But it smells like stock manipulation by Trump. He's done it over and over and over. The last year, I've noticed it. The market goes down. Big buying opportunity. He knows that. And then all of a sudden he tweets, we're meeting with China again, even though nothing's happening. Just out of the blue, people go, why is he doing that? I wonder if he's doing that to profit. So we've got Donald Trump here freaking out. We're not in a recession yet. But the economy is definitely slowing down. As I mentioned, we contracted from 3.1% to 2.1% in back-to-back quarters. While that's 1 percentage point, that's really like a 25 to 30% contraction. That's really significant, folks. And I'm again, not an economist, but every economist, Wall Street Journal, CNBC said this is almost all attributable to one thing, Donald Trump's tariffs. And that's where it all is at Trump's feet. I'm not saying it because I dislike Trump horribly, as you know that I do. He inherited a great economy from President Obama. And it is sort of went along pretty well. Did a tax cut, Corporations didn't give the money to workers. They pocketed it, but still, stock market goes up. Some people benefit. Well, that's sort of gone now. That priming of the economy is gone. It's expired. And you've got Donald Trump with a trade war driving up costs for consumers. And to make it worse, because of he's all about bravado, a short time ago, Trump said because China imposed new tariffs today, he's going to put the new tariffs in effect starting October, the ones he was not going to. Bottom line of that is, if it all goes as people predict, your iPhone will be more expensive. A lot of Christmas gifts, holiday gifts will be much more expensive. We're all going to see that. It's going to be further drag on the economy. And that's why I say, to sum up, Republicans give you recessions. Democrats give us jobs, because Democrats are concerned about policy that help a wide swath of Americans, the middle class. And when the middle class is doing well, the entire economy does well. In the times of the smallest amount of income inequality in our country's history, our nation has grown beautifully. That was from World War II down to like the 70s and the 80s. Once this really exaggerated, grotesque income inequality happened, the economy has slowed because for most people, we have not seen wages increase, but the wealthy have. And that's because of this capital bias in the policies. And we covered it last Friday with two great authors on the idea of having a democratic economy. So we are struggling. And to put to the point about Democrats create jobs, Republicans give you recessions, let me ask you, top 5, out of the top 6 presidents, how many do you think were Democrats in terms of job growth? And that's based on raw numbers or percentages. How many of the top 6 were Democrats presidents? 5 of the 6. The number one greatest job creator of any president, Bill Clinton, added 18 million jobs in 8 years, 15% increase. 15% increase. That's remarkable. Number 2, FDR. The number of jobs is not relevant because it was much smaller America at the time, but he increased jobs by 21%. Number 3, Ronald Reagan. So there's one Republican in the top 6. Ronald Reagan. Jimmy Carter, surprisingly, 10% job increase, but it was all in the first part of his term. We hit a recession. That's why he lost the second part. Number 5, Harry Truman. Number 6, President Obama. Now, here's the thing about Obama. Obama, at the end of his term, created 8.9 million jobs, about 6% increase. But that's not the best way of looking at it, to be honest, because we had a massive recession. If you look at it from the time of the recession was over, when he was no longer losing jobs, the time he left, it was actually 16 million jobs created, 11% increase, making him the 3rd largest job creator ever. I know it's a lot of numbers for radio. Again, if we had a nice graph here, you'd say like, wow, that's nice. I get that. You might ask about George W. Bush. George W. Bush in 2008, his last year, lost 3.5 million jobs. That was the beginning of the Great Recession. His father didn't do well, 2.5% increase in jobs. So how do you compare Trump to Obama? Because Trump tells you he's the greatest thing. Like, we never had job growth before Donald Trump. That's the way he makes you think. Black people never had a job before Donald Trump. Hispanics never had a job before Donald Trump. That's what he makes you think. None of that is true, as you would imagine. Trump's average job growth in 2017, 179,000 a month. What was Obama's the year before? 193,000 a month. So even back-to-back years, you see a slowing of the economy. He gets in under Obama 2016, 193,000 jobs a month. It goes down to 179. 2018, last year, Donald Trump and his Department of Labor told us remarkable numbers. We created on average 223,000 jobs a month. That is remarkable. That is a huge number, right? You're like, wow, that is remarkable. But why are we not seeing wages go up? What's going on in the country? Well, guess what happened yesterday, folks? The Department of Labor revised those numbers, saying they overestimated, and they revised it almost in a record number revision. They brought it down by 500,000 jobs, meaning per month, it was about 190,000 jobs a month, just like Obama did in 2016. So what you have is a slowing economy. There's no doubt about it. I'm not rooting for it. I don't know what our next GDP report will be. We're going to get that coming up. We're going to get our jobs report in the first Friday of every month. We'll see how things are. I hope the economy stays strong. I think we can beat Trump without that. There's also another reason I'm concerned about the economy sliding, is that it'll make Trump even more desperate. You see his desperation this week. He added anti-Semitism to his barrage of bigotry. If he has no economy to run on, what does he run on? It's got to be culture war. It's got to be the idea of promising Christian Sharia law and trying to deliver it. It's got to be on the demonizing black and brown people and Hispanics and Muslims again, going back to a full Muslim ban, giving more red meat, discriminating against the LGBT community. Just covered it with Michelangelo Signorelli a couple of days ago. He'll have nothing else to run on. And if the economy gets bad, some people who are reasonable might get so desperate, instead of rejecting Trump, they might go along with extreme measures to prevent immigration or mass deportations or whatever else he prescribes, because desperate people will agree to desperate measures. So it's not as simple as Trump loses. If the economy goes down, that's the end of Trump. That's likely. But between now and November 3rd, 2020, it can get really, really ugly. And that's what I think. I mean, I want to hear from you. What do you think Trump does as the economy slows more? And if we actually hit a recession, what more does he think of in giving to his base? Does he invade Greenland? I mean, I'm not even joking. I mean, I'm really not. None of this is off the table. When the guy who's the president says that his appointee as Federal Reserve Chair is the enemy of America by Twitter, a guy who wanted to ban Muslims and invasion of Hispanics and demonizes the disabled and women and stuff, nothing's off the table. Nothing would prevent him from going to invade Greenland tomorrow, except we'd be a pariah country, but he doesn't care. His base might be happy about that. What else do you think he will do to stay in power? That's my question to you, because the economy is going to slow. I don't know if we'll have a recession, but it's going to slow and he's going to freak. So you're my guest. I'd love to hear from you. 866-997-4748. Give me a call right here on the Dean Obeidallah Show.
The Dean Obeidallah Show.
I think Trump clips that they play on the media should come with a health warning saying that if you watch this, you'll get